Hi everybody, welcome to episode 2. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to do the single crochet. This is in US terminology. In my first tutorial I showed you how to do the slip knot and the chaining method. So hopefully by now you've practiced doing the chaining method and you've got a fairly consistent looking chain of V's like this. On the back it should look like this. Now when we're working into chains, some people like to work into this vertical bar here. You may see that in some tutorials. Some people prefer working into just this one loop here, and some people prefer working into a couple of loops. I'm going to show you how I do it, which I find works really well for when you get used to crocheting. You're going to be making things like booties, and you might want to work into your foundation chains twice. You might want to work in this direction, then back in this direction. And it helps just to work under one bit of yarn here. It's left V, as it were, so because it makes the chain easier to see if you need to work into it again. So with a single crochet, what you do is normally, I say normally because there are no rules in crochet, normally we work into our second stitch from hook to do a single crochet into our chains. Now our second stitch from hook, we never count this loop on our hook. We never count that as a stitch. So our first stitch is going to be this one here, this bit of yarn here, this little V there, and so our second one is going to be this one here. Okay, so there's our first one and there's our second. And to do a single crochet in US terminology, we put our hook in, and I'm just going to go under this one bit of yarn, this left side of the V, second stitch from hook. Okay, put our hook into there, and it's the same thing again as when you were doing the chaining. You wrap the yarn round anti-clockwise. So when I say anti-clockwise, it's going in this direction. Or another way of looking at it is you're going underneath the yarn. That's how I do it, underneath the yarn. And again, my hook is facing upwards, and as I come through the stitch I'm going to be twisting it downwards. Okay, and again I'm using these fingers just to pull on my project, just to open up that loop. Okay, so we're going to go into our second stitch from hook for our single crochet, so we don't count the loop on our hook. There's our first one there, there's our second one. I'm going to go underneath that left part of the V, underneath the yarn, bring that through. We've got two loops now, just got the two loops. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over again, and again we go underneath, always going in the same direction, underneath, grab that yarn, and then I'm going to bring the yarn through both loops. So I'm going to twist the hook down as I come through, and I'm going to come through both loops, twist the hook up. And that completes a single crochet stitch, which in UK terminology is called a double crochet stitch. So I'll show you that again, but I'm also going to show you in this tutorial how to do the slip stitch as well, which is a slightly smaller stitch. So to do that again, we find our next V shape. See there, we've got our next V. So find your left part of the V, put your hook into there, so it's going to be our next stitch, and again I'm holding it with these fingers. I'm going to go underneath the yarn, always go underneath, twist the hook downwards as you bring it through the stitch, then twist it up as you come through the stitch. Again we've got two loops, and it helps, rather than thinking vertically, it's now to start thinking horizontally. Again we're going to yarn over once we've got our two loops, go underneath, twist that hook down and come through both loops, 1 and 2. That creates another single crochet. So stop thinking vertically and now start thinking horizontally, because we're working in the row. So there's our second single crochet. So initially, if you followed from the very beginning, we did 10 chains. So by the end of this row, if we did single crochets all the way along, we'd end up with 9 stitches. Because we worked into the second stitch from hook, that first stitch from hook disappears. So if you want to create a stitch count of, say, 20, you would need to crochet 21 chains because you lose that very first chain. Okay, so again we find our next V, which is going to be there. Okay, that's our next V. Put my fingers there. So we find that left part of the V, put our hook into there, and again we're going underneath, my fingers in the way, hold it there, underneath, twist the hook down, bring the yarn through, so you've got 2 loops, go underneath the yarn, so hook that yarn again, bring it through both loops to do a single crochet. And there's our 3rd one. Okay, find your next V, and like I said, if you don't find V's and you find you've got a mixture of V's and sort of back loops, just keep practicing your chaining until you get a nice consistent row of V's, because that will really help you in the long run. So the next one will be our next V there. Find the left part of the V, just going onto that one bit of yarn, going underneath, bring it through 2 loops, okay. Underneath again, going underneath, twisting that hook down to come through, just again using these fingers just to pull open those stitches and make them easier to crochet through, come through both loops, and there's our 4th single crochet. Okay, and the next one, our next V, underneath the yarn, bring it through, so you've got 2 loops, underneath the yarn, bring it through both loops, another single crochet. Okay.